So hi there, welcome in. This is Melanie Ash. I'm going to get started here with your workshop in just a few moments. I want to give everyone a chance to jump on. And while we're waiting, I would love for you to pop into the chat and say hi. I see Erica there. She is in Dallas, Texas. Hi, Erica. Thank you so much for being on with me today. Josh, how are you? It's so great to have you with us today, Josh. Josh is here in Galloway, Ohio, which is near Columbus, where I am, and we've communicated quite a bit through Facebook. So although we've never met, I feel as if Josh and I are already friends, so I'm so glad to have you. Melissa here, hi, from PA. Awesome, wonderful, so glad to have you on. So, hi, Kelsey. My sister-in-law, Kelsey, is on with us today. So cool. So thank you guys for joining. As I said, we'll get started here in just a moment. If you are on your desktop computer or a laptop, one way that you can make this a little bit better for viewing, if you haven't already, if you look at the video player and down, if you click on the player itself down there on the bottom, it will give you the option to go into theater mode. And that's probably the best way to watch today. That'll put the chat there on the right hand side and the video on the left and remove some of those distractions that YouTube likes to show us on the rest of your screen. So go ahead and put me in theater mode if you are watching from your computer. I want to say hi to Sarah. Sarah is a client of mine. She's here in Columbus, Ohio. So glad to have you on today, Sarah. What I want you guys to know is that this is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how long the Q&A goes for us today. The presentation itself is about 45 minutes. I will be doing a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So once I get through the entire presentation, then I will be sticking around as long as necessary to answer your questions today. What I want you to know is that you can go ahead and type those questions into the chat as we go along, and you think of a question, feel free to type that in. I will not, however, be checking that and answering those questions until the very end. So just know that I will get to your question, but you can go ahead and feel free to type them in at any time. If at any time there are any technical issues, if you have any issues hearing me or seeing me or anything like that, please do type that into the chat as well. My husband Jason is here monitoring the chat while I'm giving the presentation, so he can alert me if there are any problems or anything like that. So thank you so much for being here, and we are just going to go ahead and jump right in. If you guys are all set, I do encourage you to have a piece of paper and a pen with you to take some notes. Some of the information here today may be new to you, some of it may not, but if it is new to you, you're definitely going to want to be able to take some notes. And at some point I am going to show you an example of something that I want you to be able to write out on paper if you want to play along with that. So just having a blank sheet of paper or a notebook and a pen would be a great idea. Hi there, Michelle from Washington State. Early for her today. So it's 12:30 here in Columbus, Ohio. I believe in Washington State it would be about 9:30 a.m. So good morning to you, Michelle. All right, grab your pen and paper. Give me your full undivided attention, if you will, for just about another 45 minutes or so, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So the presentation today is called Meal Planning, Not Meal Plans. Overcome the overwhelm with my simple 3-step system to meal planning and prepping. And what I want to say to you today is that you might be here, you may have signed up for this presentation because you're frustrated. Maybe you have a goal, maybe it's health related or weight loss related, and you're just not having success in reaching it. And so you're feeling frustrated. Maybe you think you need a meal plan in order to get to this goal that you're trying to reach. The truth is, you don't need a meal plan. What you need is a system of meal planning and prepping, because that is the way that you're going to be able to not only achieve success and have your results, but also keep them long term. Why meal planning over meal plans? Why don't meal plans work? Well, you can't stick to a meal plan forever. And if you've ever done a meal plan, you probably can agree with this, right? You can eat a certain prescribed meal plan for a certain period of time, and then inevitably you're going to get bored and you're going to want to eat other things. Life is, in reality in life, you can't eat the same thing over and over and over. So in order to lose weight and keep it off, you have to change your lifestyle, because after you get tired of a certain meal plan or you've done it for a certain period of time, your 21 days is over, then what? You go back to eating the way that you did before, And inevitably, if you did have results, you lose them, because if you go back to doing what you did before, you'll go back to looking or feeling the way that you did before. You have to change your lifestyle. How do you do that? You do that with knowledge and skills. Knowledge is power. When you have knowledge, you can adapt and you can grow. A meal plan doesn't teach you anything, which is why you're unable to adapt or grow through a meal plan. You only know this particular meal plan, and if you're not doing that, you've gained nothing. You don't know what to do outside of that. So I want you to ask yourself, can you relate to maybe feeling frustrated, not getting the results you want? Maybe you're overwhelmed by so much information that you're just not really sure what to do, and you find yourself falling on and off track, having success, doing well for a while, then falling off track and just spinning your wheels. Well, there is good news, because there is hope. So what works? Planning and prepping meals ahead of time. Establishing a simple routine you can repeat every week, and consistency over time. This is the way to get results and to keep results, and to not find yourself gaining and losing, or feeling good and then finding yourself back into a place where you don't feel as healthy. This is the way to do it. So what I will share today is how to overcome that overwhelm, how to sort through all of the information out there, break it down to just the things that you need to know, a simple 3-step system that works for meal planning and prepping. And then stick around, because once I get through the lesson and the 3-step system, I do have an exciting offer just for you who are here today and those who have joined me earlier this week on the other webinar presentations that I did. And if you are really ready to start meal prepping and you want to take it to the next level, this could be just the thing for you in 2017. So stick around for that. And as I said, of course, the Q&A at the end. So as I've said, this works. How do I know this works? Well, because I've been there. So just giving you a little bit of my story for those of you who don't know me. The picture on the right was just before I began my healthy living journey, which has been over 10 years ago now. And when I saw the picture on the right, I decided to change my life. I started trying to eat healthier. I started working out. I eventually became a group fitness instructor and a personal trainer. So fast forward from the picture on the right to about 5 or 6 years in, so about 5 or 6 years ago. I was eating what I thought was mostly healthy. I did work out regularly. I was working out 6 to 7 days a week, but I didn't plan or prep most of my meals. I might think about what I was going to take with me to work for lunch, and my hubby and I tried to plan out dinners sometimes, but we really weren't extraordinarily consistent, and I ate out nearly every weekend. So while I was healthy and I was active, I will say that physically my body wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. I didn't like the way I looked comparatively to the work that I thought I was putting in, and I felt like I should look a little bit more fit. I wanted to be leaner. And so in order to get there, something had to change. And the impetus for me was in 2012 when I started training for my first fitness competition. Now I want to preface this by saying, what I'm going to share with you today is absolutely not that extreme as a competition prep, and you do not need to be a bodybuilder or a fitness competitor to benefit from this. This is just how it started for me. For me, that was what forced me to start planning and prepping all of my meals, because if you're not familiar, when you do a competition prep, the amount of weight loss that you need to have means you can't have any guesswork. Everything has to be exact. You know, if I was going out to a restaurant, sometimes I had to take Tupperware meals with me because I had to be that exact with what I was eating. So when we traveled, it forced me to start planning and preparing all of my meals, which is something that I had not done before. So once I got through this fitness competition prep and got used to doing this, not only did I transform my body, but my lifestyle was completely changed. I was now doing regular meal planning and prepping in a way that I had never done before. And it just became a lifestyle for me. And to this day, even when I'm not training for a competition, I'm still doing that, planning and preparing all of my meals every single week. So I've maintained this lifestyle for over 4 years now. As I said, you do not need to be a fitness competitor or a fitness professional. This works for anyone and everyone. If you have a weight loss goal, if you're just someone who really wants to be healthy and wants to eat healthy on a regular basis, meal prep is essential for weight loss, and it's really important for healthy living, and especially if you want to remove some of the extra stress and strain in your life. So as I said, you don't have to be a fitness competitor. And I want to share Courtney's story. So Courtney is a client of mine and a friend, and her story is a really great example of why meal planning and prepping works. So when Courtney came to me, she had already lost about 30 or 40 pounds. She had had success with using some more extreme methods that you might be familiar with, extreme low-calorie dieting, medical weight loss, which is, involves drinking shakes and things like that. And she got to a point after having that initial success that she plateaued. She still had weight to lose, but it wasn't working anymore. And so she was frustrated. And she was really ready to do it. And she came to me and basically was in a place of, tell me what to do and I will do it, but I just don't know what works. So we worked together through nutrition coaching, and I taught her about meal planning and prepping and, knowing how much to eat for her body and making sure that she had the right foods. And she jumped in and started planning and prepping all of her meals for every week. And she did this consistently for months at a time. And she really made meal prep a complete part of her lifestyle. And she lost more than 40 pounds. This is about 6 to 8 months, I think, that transpired for her. And she continues to meal plan and prep every week. It's been more than 2 years. She's kept the weight off. And that's because she changed her lifestyle. This is how Courtney lives now. She still is able to go out. She still socializes, goes out to dinner with her boyfriend. But her main way of living, especially during the work week, is to plan and prep her meals. And because of that, she can go out and she can have these off-plan meals. But every weekend, boom, she's right back into planning and prepping and getting everything ready. And look at her transformation. I mean, this is so inspiring. And it would not have been possible had she not had that dedication to consistent meal planning and prepping and making that a lifestyle. This is not something that Courtney only did for 3 months or 6 months. For 2 years, she's done this, and that's why she's been able to keep those incredible results. Simply put, meal plans don't work. Meal planning does. You're going to be busy. Life happens, so you got to plan for it. Keep yourself on track so that you don't constantly find yourself thinking you're going to do one thing and ending up with life throwing you off track. You create a system, be prepared for change, and you end up with less stress and fewer decisions, because there's nothing worse than coming home at night after a long day and you're tired and thinking to yourself, shoot, what is for dinner, and not having any options, and then you order a pizza and then you feel guilty about it. I think we've all been there, right? Okay, so now I know what you're thinking. Okay, I shared my story and you saw Courtney's great success, but you might still be thinking, there's so much info, I'm overwhelmed. This is complicated and confusing. I don't know where to start. I just need someone to tell me what to eat. And I hear that a lot, but I promise this system is far more effective than being told what to eat, and it can be simple and it can be easy. I've broken it down into 3 simple phases: learn, plan, and do. And I am going to go through each one by one and give you some of the background. Starting with phase 1, learn. So in order to start meal planning and prepping, we first need to have an understanding of what we should be eating. What is healthy? And that's kind of a tough question sometimes to know the answer to. So I like to make it simple. Focus on nutrient-dense whole foods. Easy enough? Okay, so what are nutrient-dense whole foods? We want to think of things like fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, lean meats and poultry, and a little bit later on I'll dive more deeply into what I mean by lean meats and poultry and how you can know what is lean and what is a less optimal choice. Fish would be another healthy, whole, nutrient-dense food. Nuts, beans, seed, and seed oils. I want you to think of foods that come from nature so you can look at a food and know where it came from, rather than foods that are man-made or made in a factory. Which brings us to, when we want to eat healthy, limiting processed and packaged foods in our diet. So things to try to avoid. And as I'm going through this list, I want you to remember that you want to not have these be the bulk of your diet. It doesn't mean you're never going to eat them. They do have their time and their place. You just want to try to avoid them and make sure that you're eating much more healthy, nutrient-dense foods and much fewer of these manufactured foods. So prepackaged meals and foods, things like Lunchables, or years ago, my husband and I used to make those, Bertolli had these prepackaged pasta meals. They're just really loaded with artificial ingredients and sodium and sugars, things that are not really what we want in our healthy diet. You want to stay away from microwave meals like your lean cuisines. Certain canned items. When we're talking canned items, you still want to look for an item that is as close to its natural state. So if it's a canned vegetable, you want just canned green beans. You don't want any extra additives. Usually they'll pack them in water or brine. That's okay. Make sure to rinse them. Beans would be another example that if you can buy whole beans in bulk, that would be better. But canned beans certainly are not terrible. You just want to make sure you're rinsing them. So canned items can be tricky. Watch for things like added sugars and tomato sauces. You got to be a real label reader when it comes to canned items. Processed meats, deli meats, salami, pepperoni, very fatty, not lean meats, and tend to be packed with sodium. And then again, we want to try to avoid artificial ingredients. So if you pick up an item and the ingredient list is, 50 ingredients long, you probably want to look for something that has fewer ingredients, is a little bit closer to its natural state. It's going to pack more of the nutrient density than something that was manufactured. So from that, we know what types of foods. Now we have to look at how that translates into a meal. What does a healthy meal look like? Well, the FDA recommends you eat a balanced meal at each meal that would include lean proteins, some healthy fresh vegetables, whole grains, and a little bit of low-fat dairy, so some low-fat cheese or some low-fat milk. Now, what I like to do is take this even deeper because it's about so much more than calories, and I think a lot of times with healthy eating, we tend to focus a little too much on calorie intake and not what makes up those calories, which is your carbs, your fats, and protein. And these are absolutely essential because 100 grams of carbohydrate versus 100 grams of fat versus 100 grams of protein has a very different use and affects your body very differently. So we want to make sure that we're including a serving of each in most meals and eating meals that are not just balanced with the types of foods, but also with our macronutrients. So this could be new to you for some folks who have tried to eat healthy and clean. Maybe you've never dived into macros. So understanding macros, I'm going to break down each one, talk a little bit about what different foods would qualify as a serving of each. So starting with our protein. Protein is our building block. Protein helps us build muscle. It helps us to repair after we work out. It's also very good for satiety, which means it keeps us fuller longer, and it helps to stabilize blood sugar. So especially if you're dieting or exercising a lot, protein is going to be key for you, and a lot of women don't eat enough protein. So some sources of good healthy proteins. Lean meats and poultry. When we're talking lean, for a chicken example, chicken breast is going to be probably your leanest. You want to look for chicken that doesn't have skin on it and limiting the amount of fat. So we're looking for meats and poultries that are the lowest in fat. If it's ground, such as ground beef or ground turkey, they usually put the percentage of fat to lean on the package. So something of 90%, 93% lean is a great choice. And still retains some flavor as well. Also, talking about steak, for example, looking for the least fatty cut of steak. A strip would be your least fatty cut. That's what I mean when I say lean meats and poultry. Fish is a wonderful protein source. Salmon, tuna, tilapia, cod, other, white fish, wonderful for protein. And then on top of that, we can add protein powders, Greek yogurt, and cottage cheese as some other supplemental ways to get good, healthy protein in our diet. Moving on to carbohydrates, which I think are probably the most confusing for folks and tend to be sort of vilified in the diet community. But there are good carbs and there are bad carbs, and we want to try to stick with our good carbs, which are going to have less of a blood sugar spike, they're less inflammatory, and they pack more nutrient density and fiber with their sugar content. So when I'm saying bad carbs, the things we want to limit are things like cookies and candy. Bagels are really super calorie dense but don't have a lot of nutrient value to them. So you want to watch out for those types of carbs. They have a place here and there. They just shouldn't be the bulk of your diet. You want to first prioritize getting in whole grains, rice, oats, starchy vegetables like a sweet potato, white potato, winter squashes, really great. Even though a white potato is a high carbohydrate, it's also super high in fiber and it has tons of good nutrients in it. So do not be afraid of your white potato. Just don't get all of your white potato in the form of French fries. Fresh fruit is also another really good healthy carb. You want to be cautious with dried fruit. More fresh fruit than dried, because dried fruit tends to be super high in sugar and not high in fiber. And our final macro is our healthy fats. And fat is really, really beneficial and very good for our brain, for our joints. And we tend to not always get enough healthy fats. So we talked about animal fats, looking for leaner proteins, again, wanting to avoid the amount of animal fat we're eating or vegetable oils, and instead choosing healthier fats like seed oils, coconut oil, olive oil, sunflower oil. Nut seeds and nut butters are fantastic fat sources, as are avocado. Salmon is very, very healthy, very high in fat. Coconut, and you could also add some fish oil as a supplementary way to get some more healthy fats in your diet. So as I said, you do want to balance your meals with a portion of each macro. But even that being said, you don't want to have to measure and weigh everything that you're eating, and you don't want to have to overthink this. So I have a really simple method to share with you that is a way you can determine how to balance a meal and how much of each macro you should have for each meal just by using your hand. So if you take a look at your hand, the palm of your hand, so just your palm, not including your fingers, would be a good serving of a protein. So I'm looking at my palm, and that would probably be about a half of a chicken breast, which is probably about 3 ounces, but I don't need to know the actual measure. I could say that's about a half a chicken breast. It's a nice, good, small hamburger patty for sure. And then closing up your hand, so you make a fist. The whole fist is a good serving of carbohydrates. That's the cooked version of carbohydrates. So for me, a half a cup to maybe 3/4 of a cup of cooked rice is the size of my fist, or maybe a half of a sweet potato. And then looking at my thumb, that'd be about a tablespoon of olive oil, the size of my thumb. So without having to weigh or measure a thing, I could look at, okay, a good sized hamburger patty, a half of a sweet potato, and a tablespoon of olive oil drizzled on the sweet potato. Boom, that is a balanced meal. Throw some fibrous veggies like some broccoli on the side, and you have a fantastic healthy meal. I didn't even need a recipe, and I didn't even need to weigh or measure a thing. So I encourage you, if you're worried about portion size, try this hand method the next time that you are trying to put together a healthy meal. So now that we're more knowledgeable about what to eat and how to balance our portion sizes, it's time to move into phase 2, which is plan. We're actually going to choose the meals that you eat. So there are a couple steps when we go into planning our meals. You're going to lay out your calendar of your week, and then you're going to write down all the meals that you eat in a week. You're going to include social commitments, parties, work meetings, etc., to know which meals you'll have to actually plan for and which meals you won't have to plan for because you know you'll be going out to dinner or you're going to have a catered work lunch. So I want to show you what this looks like on paper. And if you did grab a pen and paper when we got started, or if you want to run and do that now, go ahead and do that. You can actually work through this with me and write out your own. So across the top of the page, you would write all of the days of the week. If you're going to do your meal prep through Saturday and Sunday, which I encourage you to do because those weekends can definitely throw us off, your weekends are going to be different than your weekdays, but the more you can kind of plan ahead and have an idea of when and where and what you'll be eating, the more this will help you stay on track. So write those days across the top of the page. Make some columns, and then you're going to write down the left-hand side the meals that you eat every day. Maybe you're just a 3-meal-a-day person, breakfast, lunch, dinner, then just write that down. If you're someone like myself where I like to eat a little bit more frequently, I usually have a couple snacks in there. So I might have breakfast, then a mid-morning snack, lunch, a mid-afternoon snack, and then dinner. Whatever you typically do, and no, there's no right way. I want you to plan for what you typically do, what works for you. Write those meals down the left-hand side. So then what we're going to do is we're going to fill this in just like a chart. So if you take a look here, I have some things filled in. So right away, the first thing I want you to do when you're meal planning is think about the commitments that you have that will have you eating away from home so that you know that you're not going to have to plan and prepare a meal for that. So for example, here Wednesday, I've put, there's a work lunch meeting. So I know I don't have to have lunch brought with me that day. Friday and Saturday we go out, so, not going to be making a dinner at home those nights. Sunday's usually brunch, and then maybe Saturday out shopping during the afternoon. So right away I can X out those boxes. I don't need to plan for those particular meals. The rest of those meals, and you can see there's a lot left, I've got to plan for it. I need to know what I'm going to be having and what I'm going to be eating. So I'll start filling it in. I want you to select as specifically as possible exactly what you will have for all of those meals. What I will typically do is breakfast across the board will be the same. Snacks will be pretty much the same. I like to have the same thing. I think that's a lot easier. And later on, we'll talk about why that is and what, you can do for what will work best for you. But I might switch out dinners. So maybe, Monday, Wednesday, I'm having the same dinner. Tuesday, Thursday might be something different. But I'm going to go ahead and fill that in with whatever it is that I'm going to be eating. So lay out the calendar of all the meals that you'll eat in a week, including at and away from home meals. And what I mean by that is the meals that you will eat at work, like if you eat your lunch at work, if you eat your snack in the car on the way to pick up the kids, include those things because you're going to want to plan them, prep them, and take them with you because that's going to keep you from rushing to the drive-thru because you don't have anything with you to eat. Select exactly what you will eat for each meal and be specific as possible. As you saw here, I've put down, I'm going to have tuna and veggie sticks and almonds as my snack. Beef and broccoli with a sweet potato for dinner. I'm not using recipes, and you actually don't necessarily even have to use recipes. I showed you that hand method. You can absolutely plan meals just that way. Pick a protein, pick a carb, pick a fat. There's your meal. Write it down. So as I said, be as specific as possible. Look for recipes if you do use recipes and foods that can easily be made in bulk. The less complicated you make this, the better. I don't know about you, but if I look at a recipe that has 30 ingredients, I'm already like, I'm out. I can't. This is too much. And when you're trying to make all of your meals at once, you do not want to overwhelm yourself by getting super fancy, especially if you're new to meal prep. And the good news is you don't have to. We've talked very simply about what healthy foods are and how to make easily balanced healthy meals. Boom, boom, boom. A protein, a carb, and a fat. Throw some veggies in, put some fruit in there a couple times a week or a couple times a day, and you're golden. Simple and easy. So once you've laid out that calendar, you've filled all that in, you've determined what you're going to be eating for each meal. Now you've got to make a grocery list. And this is how you're going to avoid wasting food. Buying food, we've all been there. You're like, I'm going to make some recipes. Or I'm going to make some new stuff. And you buy the food and you don't end up making whatever you were going to make. And man, it goes bad so quickly. And you're like, shoot, it's bad. And now I have to throw it out. And you've wasted money. And that's frustrating. And nobody likes to waste money. So take a look at that meal plan. And I want you to make a specific grocery list from everything you've planned out. So if I was looking at this week and I had filled all this in, and let's just for the sake of time say that everything was pretty much the same, that I knew I was going to have 6 days of egg whites and oats and 6 days of veggies. So I would know that I'm going to need, if I were to eat 4 egg whites each morning, and that's 6 days, I need at least 2 dozen eggs, right? I need 2 dozen eggs and I need at least a bag of oats. If I'm going to have a protein bar each day, okay, I need 6 or 7 protein bars. I need 6 or 7 apples. If I need a half a breast of chicken for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, okay, so I'm probably going to need 10 chicken breasts. That's how we're going to plan this out, item by item, making your grocery list. You already know what portions you need because you've been super specific about exactly what you're going to make, and you know exactly how many days you're going to eat those things, so you know exactly how much you need. So now that your meals are planned, your groceries are bought, we move into phase 3, do. Prep all your meals and food ahead of time. This is a critical step. All the planning in the world is no good. You can buy those groceries, but if you don't prep them, they're going to go to waste and you're not going to stick to the plan. You've got to prep it ahead of time. Carve out a couple hours on a weekend or on your day off and determine how everything is going to be prepared. Yes, it's going to take you a couple hours out of your week, but it's going to save you time. It's going to save you stress in the long run. And I promise you, the more you do this after you've meal prepped for a long time, it gets easier and easier and it takes you less and less time. You're also going to want to think ahead and determine how things will need to be prepared. So if you're looking at your menu, how are you going to cook your meats? How are you going to cook your chicken? What about the carbohydrates? So here are some easy prep tips. You can bulk cook meats like chicken and fish on the grill or in the oven. The grill is probably one of the best ways. Throw a bunch of chicken breasts on the grill, grill them up, they're done, cut them into individual portions, and you're good to go. I love doing chicken in the crock pot. So I'll throw, 2 packs of chicken in a crock pot, cook that for most of the day, and then it's done. And I have a ton of chicken that can sometimes last me more than a week. If I have extra, I just freeze it. Cooking large portions of things like rice or potatoes or quinoa on the stove or in your crock pot. I like to do potatoes in individual portions. So I'll take individual portions of potatoes, weighing out, knowing how much I want for a serving. Or again, I could just take a look at my fist and cut a sweet potato in half. I'll cook it on its own individual foil so that they're already in individual servings. Pop it in the oven. Super quick and easy. Vegetables you can bake or roast even in the oven or on the grill. Put some olive oil with that, throw them in there. You can have 4 to 5 servings of roasted vegetables ready to go. They keep really well, actually. As long as you let these things cool significantly before you put them in a Tupperware, put them in the fridge, they don't get as moist. You can also throw a little paper towel in there with the container that would soak up some of the extra moisture. They last a good 5 days. So if you're going to have your food prepped for 5 to 6 days, you should be fine without having to freeze anything. If it's going to be longer than that, just freeze it. I don't recommend doing that with the veggies, but the proteins and the carbs, totally fine. Another way that I like to save time is making whole recipes and then dividing them into individual portions. So say you're going to do a crock pot chili and you're going to eat that for lunch or for dinner every day during the work week. Make a huge batch of it, then take your 6 even-sized containers, spoon it out into even portions throughout those 6 containers, put it in the fridge, and there you have it. All you have to do is grab it and heat it up for lunch or for dinner, and you're good to go. And that way you know that you've had equal portion sizes of that one large recipe that you made as well. Even slicing veggies ahead of time, portioning out your nuts into single baggies, this is going to save you time later, and it's going to make you much more likely to have those healthy little snacks with you. So if you are going to have, I love to have roasted red and yellow peppers. Rather than worrying about, on Monday morning getting the pepper out and slicing it up, I buy them, bring them home on Sunday, slice them into individual portions, put them in a bag, and then when the work week starts, all I have to do is grab it. That's giving me fewer excuses and less to think about. And it's going to save you money because I don't know about you, but with things like nuts, if I have a bulk container of nuts, I can go to town on those pretty easily without realizing how many I'm eating. And if I portion it out, I might get 30 servings of nuts. That's a month's worth if I was eating them every day, rather than, kind of mindlessly snacking on them here and there, and I might end up having to buy another container in 2 weeks. So this is another way this is going to save you money, is by planning ahead and portion things out. Do as much of the prep work as possible ahead of time. That's going to save you time in the long run, and as I said, it's going to remove the excuses, because if dinner's cooked and all you have to do is take it out of the fridge, scoop out a portion of rice, heat up your hamburger and heat up your veggies, you're going to be much less likely to say, oh, forget it, I'm just going to go to carry out, because the food is there, and if you don't eat it, you're wasting it and you're wasting your money. And I know nobody wants to do that, right? So remember, you can store your cooked food in the freezer or fridge, either in large containers or in individually portioned meals. So if I'm going to have chicken, sweet potato, and broccoli as my lunch for 5 days, rather than just putting those 3 things in separate large containers, I'll actually take 5 Tupperware, half a chicken breast, half a sweet potato, a cup of broccoli in each one, and then all I have to do is grab and go. I want you to think grab and go with just about everything you're prepping. If you have to take it with you, make it super, super simple and remove all of that added work. Get it all done on the weekend, and then your weeks will be so much less stressful. So you might still be feeling a little overwhelmed, but I promise it's easier than you think. Let's break this down. Learn what you should be eating, determine what is and what is not healthy, plan specifically what you will eat, very, very specific, and you don't even necessarily have to use recipes, remember that, and then do as much of the prep work as possible in advance to save yourself time. So this is simple, right? 3 steps to success. Once you know what to do, all you have to do is do it. And perhaps you already knew some of what I'm telling you today, and perhaps you've even done some food prep in the past, but maybe you haven't been successful in actually doing it. So why? Why aren't you successful? Because you can know exactly what to do. The struggle is in actually doing it. You have to solidify the routine. So something is missing. Something is not allowing you to do it and execute it and make this a lifestyle. What you need is support and accountability. And I've worked with dozens of women through nutrition coaching, and what I realized is that this system really works, teaching you what to eat and how to prepare it. But what's missing is learning how to successfully create new habits and allowing you to develop a consistent lifestyle change. So my new program does exactly that. Making It Stick is your blueprint to developing healthy habits that you can keep for life. And this program is for you. If you want to be healthy, but you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, you know what to do, but struggle to stay on track and be consistent, you're frustrated and tired of feeling like you're getting nowhere. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Making It Stick. It's a 5-lesson program. Lesson 1 goes deeper into what healthy eating means, what specific foods we should eat, what specific foods to avoid, as well as an easy way to navigate the grocery store. Because if you're new to buying healthy food and buying produce, that can really be kind of scary and overwhelming and confusing in and of itself. So we get into that with some helpful ways to remove some of the stress and confusion that comes with that. All right, so I'm told that we might be losing the audio. If you guys can't hear me, please let me know. I'm just going to kind of double check. Let me know if the audio's back. Oh, they can hear. They can hear. Sorry, false alarm. Sorry, guys. All right, so if you guys can hear me, yes. Oh, Josh says no audio, but some of you guys can hear me. Can you hear me now? All good there. Erica can hear me. All right, I'm not sure what's happening. I apologize for, oh, Josh can hear me. Wonderful. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Diving right back in. Lesson 2, in Making It Stick, we talk about macros and why they're important. I get into how each macro functions within the body. That's really important so that you can know how to prioritize your nutrition and when to eat specific macros. An easy way to determine how many calories you should be eating for your body, which is also really important if you have specific goals in mind and you're trying to reach. And how to make macro balanced meals that fit into that plan of how many calories you need for your body. Lesson 3 is a detailed step-by-step meal planning system. How to plan meals without recipes. I show you this super simple system that I have developed that takes away all the guesswork, and you can plan every single meal without ever having to even have a recipe. And with that, there are some handy cheat sheets to help you customize your meal plan and determine what works for you. You can actually put this on paper. It really helps. It saves you time and it saves you money because, as I said, you're not going to waste as much food if you are really planning well and working through that grocery list and knowing to buy just what you need. Lesson 4 is a complete guide to meal prepping. Some easy, foolproof methods as well as essential items you're going to need to have in your kitchen to become a meal prep master. I have bulk cooking tips and tricks and videos where I show you specific methods I use for easy food prepping that makes it fast and no muss, no fuss. And all important, lesson 5. This is really important. Key secrets to changing any habit, setting up an accountability system, and ending this on again, off again cycle where you find yourself doing well and then not doing so well and feeling super frustrated. We will develop your own 21-day plan for success. And this 21-day plan is really the secret sauce because you are going to let me be your guide throughout the next 3 weeks after you've completed the course material. with regular reminders to stay on track, a weekly live question and answer session, and daily support through a course members only Facebook group where you can talk with not only myself, but other participants who are doing the course to help get some ideas and some motivation. And just for you, if you choose to sign up for Making It Stick before the end of today, I have a bonus lesson on how to navigate social events, because having a plan is fantastic, but there are going to be times, as we all have seen through the holidays, when you can't prepare your food ahead of time and you can't bring Tupperware, and you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to navigate parties and events without sacrificing your diet. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, how you can easily order from any menu at any restaurant without the stress of wondering if you're making a good choice, and how to take your healthy diet on the go when traveling, which I have some really helpful tips of specific foods and specific ways to stay on track, even if you're flying or driving, however you are going. This is the way to stay on track and not have to worry about destroying your diet. So really quickly, I want to take you guys inside the course itself so that you can see what this looks like, because it might be hard for you to visualize. So it is an online course here through melanieashfitness.com, my website, and we have 5 lessons here. Each lesson has a video with a slideshow, very much like the presentation I'm doing right now. So it has video and audio of myself going through teaching you the lessons with slides. You can download those slides. You can download the transcript as well if you are someone who learns better from reading and seeing something. And we have helpful handy dandy cheat sheets for all the lessons that will either provide you with additional information, such as how to calculate your calorie needs or a food list to eat from. We also have some worksheets for your planning, similar to what I showed you today, but that go even deeper into that to help you really mark out and customize your goal. So that's a look inside the course itself and what it looks like there on the computer. I just wanted to help you kind of visualize, because sometimes we're not sure what that may look like. And to recap, Making It Stick, it is a 30-day program. It takes you about a week to get through the lessons, and then a 21-day accountability plan through which you and I will work together to make sure that you're executing this. So not only will you learn how to plan, purchase, and prepare healthy meals, but the key ingredient of making it a lifestyle. So once you learn, you have to do it. You have to do it enough that it feels like second nature. And in order to get to that point, I feel that you really need the accountability and the guidance that will allow you to do what you need to do long enough to solidify those new habits. If you choose to sign up before the end of today, you get the entire 5-lesson course. You get access to that exclusive course members only Facebook group and myself, your 21-day accountability plan, and that free bonus social events mini course, which is really handy to help you when you can't plan and you can't prepare ahead of time without having to stress about it. So I know this program works because I've had several students who've already taken the course, and here's what some of them had to say about it. Jessica said she was 100% successful, and the program provided a realistic and achievable system. She would absolutely recommend this program to a friend who wanted to make meal prepping and planning a way of life, or to someone who struggled with meal planning consistently. And Amy said Making It Stick taught her that meal prep isn't as hard as you think. Simple meals can be prepped if you get a plan in place. If you're motivated to change, this program could definitely work for you, Amy says. Kathy had a similar experience. She had even prepped meals somewhat before, but she said this helped her put it into practice consistently, that Making It Stick is a great guide for putting everything together. She said, I would absolutely recommend this course to a friend. Michelle, she echoes that same sentiment. I would definitely recommend this course if someone wants easy, healthy. This is the way to go. I was completely successful in executing my 21-day plan because I felt I was set up to succeed. And what's really cool about what Michelle had to say after completing Making It Stick, she said she was surprised by how easy prepping in one day actually made the rest of her week. It gave her more time back into her week. And I know that is something that all of us could use, more time, right? It's time to end the frustration. Eat healthy, lose weight, feel good, and make meal prepping a lifestyle. Learn what specific foods will help you lose weight and which won't. Discover everything you need to know about macros and how to use them to eat balanced meals. Find out how to easily plan a week's worth of healthy meals without recipes. Super, super simple. See how you can prep everything at once to save yourself time and stress later. uncover proven tactics for lasting, sustainable habit change, which I think is one thing that's often missing. And I am with you every step of the way for the entire 30 days if you choose to sign up and join me for Making It Stick. And to recap, I won't just teach you the system, I'll help you develop a 21-day accountability plan. You get direct guidance from me, support from myself and others in the Facebook group, and if you choose to sign up before the end of today, you get that bonus social events mini course as well. The link to check that out, I have put it there underneath the player here on YouTube. It is melanieashfitness.com/course. If you're looking for more information as to what's in the course, more testimonials from those who have taken it, go ahead and check that out after we finish today, and I'll send you an email with that link as well, because we do have to get to the Q&A here shortly. So just a reminder, what's next? Check your email for a replay of this webinar if you want to go back and look through it and take some time to write down some more notes. You will find a link to learn more about Making It Stick if you're interested in perhaps registering for that program. What you're going to have to decide basically is this course right for you? We're moving into the new year. You might have some weight loss or health goals. What is going to help you reach those goals? I believe that meal planning and prepping is key. I think that knowledge is what is going to allow you to get to where you want to be. And so what I'm trying to do is just share as much knowledge as I can so that you can change your lifestyle and not just stick to a plan for 21 days and then move on to the next thing and keep spinning your wheels. A reminder that if you do register by the end of today, you get that free bonus social events mini course as well. So I want to open up now for questions, and I see there were a couple that popped there in the chat, so I'm going to just take a look over here so I can answer those questions for you guys. Let's see. I saw one pop in fairly early from Melissa. Okay, so Melissa says, I get the time saving, but my family doesn't like reheats. Meats tend to be drier and not as tasty. I can completely understand this, and I think oftentimes when we have people in our life, such as our spouse, our children, we have to feed others besides ourselves. It can be really tough to make everyone happy. So I would just encourage you to try to look for recipes that are going to minimize that. So I think if you're making things in the crock pot or you're doing a stew or a chili, those reheat really well without the meat drying out. And over time, you'll kind of get some practice over not overcooking your meat, and they're not as dry even then when you reheat. So you do have to kind of play with it and adjust to your preferences and try to figure out ways that you can minimize that. So could you make a bunch of chicken or a bunch of beef, and could you use it in different ways? So maybe if you eat it that day, you're just eating it with a little dressing or something on top, but maybe you throw the rest of it in with a soup or something later in the week so that you won't notice if it tastes so dry. I will have to tell you that at times we just have to adjust our taste buds, and I'm not saying that your food can't be tasty or that it has to be boring or it has to be dry or it has to be dull. However, we can't always have exactly what we want, and sometimes we just have to learn over time to adjust to a little bit of a different taste or flavor. Years ago, I never ate vegetables, and I said I didn't like them. And as I, started getting healthier and started eating more and more, the more that I eat vegetables, the more I like them. So if you adjust your taste buds slowly, things become more palatable. And then the other thing here is the sacrifice. So, pizza's great. And, many of us would like to eat pizza every day, but we also want to be healthy and we don't want to be overweight. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, and I do understand and I'm sympathetic to those who have to make others in their home happy. But I encourage you to start slowly, and that the more you can get them involved, ask them what they like, ask them to pick out recipes. That can really help them feel like it's not something that's being forced on them, but it's something that they're a part of. So I hope that helps answers your question, Melissa. Thank you so much for that. Is it okay to prep the portions? It's absolutely okay. So Melissa's follow-up question was, is it okay to just prep the portions but cook fresh each day? Absolutely. And if you are someone who has the time that you are able to do that, I highly encourage it, because one of the things that we are sacrificing when we are preparing food ahead of time and putting it in the refrigerator is that it is going to lose, as food loses freshness, it does lose some of its nutrient density. So if you do have the time and it's not an added stressor for you to cook the portions fresh each day, go for it. I think that would be even better. I think for many of us, it's not as likely that we'll do it if we try to have to cook it fresh. Now for dinners, maybe if you're someone who's home in the evening and you have time, yes, it's going to be more palatable and your family's going to like it better. Absolutely go for it. But you could put that into your plan as you're writing out your weekly meal plan, what's going to be prepped ahead of time and what's not, just so you can keep an eye on freshness. So knowing that your vegetables, if they're not cooked, might not stay fresh as long. I will say if you put things in the refrigerator, I think you can usually get 5 to 6 days out of most things. There are a few vegetables that I find don't last as long. Mushrooms would be one. Tomatoes are a little tricky. So you might also have to just plan a midweek grocery run. If that's something that's worth it to you in order to be able to prep those things fresh, I say absolutely go for it. The thing about food planning and prepping is you've got to customize it to you. The more you can make it work for you, not only what you like, but what your schedule is like, that is absolutely going to take you much further and make you much more successful. I see, Erica, I will get to your question in just a moment. I'm going to answer Josh's question here first. So Josh asked, when adjusting to proper portions, what do you do if you are still hungry, especially after dinner? So here's the rub, Josh. When you're trying to lose weight, and if you do have, carry a significant amount of extra body fat, you're going to have to be hungry. And what I try to tell my clients is we find a place that is somewhere between I'm so hungry, I'm like starving, and I'm gonna crack. Like if I go hungry for this many days, I'm gonna find myself head first in the Oreos, because you can only take that for so long. And what that usually means, if you're really starving, is that you're dieting too hard. Your calorie intake is too low. If you're just a little hungry to the point where you're not completely satisfied, but you're not starving, that's probably the sweet spot. That's probably where you need to be, and you want to just kind of monitor that. Now, I think what happens after dinner, 2 things. And Josh, you'll have to kind of think over which one of these is you. So some of us, maybe we have a pretty long day, and if you get home and you haven't eaten in quite some time, you tend to either be really hungry and not eat enough because you're not eating very much earlier in the day and you're getting home at night and you're trying to eat a moderate dinner because you're trying to lose weight and you're not eating enough. One of 2 things would be this. Make sure you're eating enough throughout the day so that you're not coming home at night starving. Eat more slowly. So take time with your dinner. Take at least 30 minutes to eat your dinner, because that's going to allow your body to adjust and tell your brain that you're full. Because sometimes, I know for me, I might come home really hungry because my busiest portion of the day is from 4 to 9 when I'm training evening clients. So I don't eat, for 4 or 5 hours. I get home at night, I have dinner at 9 o'clock. But if I scarf it down, I still feel hungry because it's like my brain hasn't even registered that I've eaten it. So make sure you're eating enough throughout the day, Josh, so that you're not coming home and having to eat a huge amount of calories at dinner. Also, make sure you're eating mindfully and you're eating your dinner slowly. If you find that you're still hungry just from a standpoint of your dieting and you're just a little hungry, my recommendation is a little piece of dark chocolate, the 75%, dark chocolate. They're 40 calories a piece. One of those is fantastic as a little treat after dinner. And then brush your teeth. Brush your teeth to send a signal to your brain that you're done for the day. That's going to help you prevent I know how it is, you're not ready to go to bed, you're on the computer, you're watching TV, and you start to get a little hungry. Well, some of that is sometimes boredom, and it's also that we have tended to munch. We tend to snack at night after dinner, and so our brain is sending us a cue of that this is what we usually do. We're not actually hungry, but our brain is solidifying a habit that we've created. So if you can reframe the habit by either having that piece of dark chocolate and then maybe a cup of hot tea, or skip those 2 things and just as soon as you get done with dinner, brush your teeth, I think that will kind of help you change the way that your nighttime routine is. And maybe even if you're just a little hungry, you won't be as tempted, or you might notice you're not even really that hungry. You were just kind of bored and used to eating. So I hope that helped answer your question, Josh. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Erica, what about people who are trying to gain muscle? We need to eat more, but we don't want to gain a lot of fat. So Erica, your question is really geared more towards specific calorie and macronutrient intake. And that's another discussion for another day, but I'll definitely provide you with a little bit of background on that. So yes, when you're trying to gain muscle, you do need to eat more. But there's kind of this myth that you need to like go crazy, and you'll see people online with like they're bulking or they're dirty bulking and they're just eating donuts like crazy and I'm putting on muscle. Especially for us women, while you absolutely need a bit of a calorie surplus for muscle building, you've got to be really careful with overdoing it, because we do tend to pack on body fat more easily than men, and it can also have a pretty nasty effect on our hormone levels. So if your goal is to gain muscle, I want you to, whether it's working with someone or, kind of working on your own, to figure out what a good maintenance intake is for yourself to maintain your current weight. Keep in mind, unless you're super new to strength training, you're not going to lose body fat when you're gaining muscle. Typically, you're not going to have them both happen at the same time. So be okay with the fact that you're not going to lose body fat. Find a great maintenance intake for yourself, one that, seems to be, do it for, 8 weeks and make sure you're not gaining weight. Then what you want to do is around your training, on the days that you're working out, just add in about like 20 to 30 grams of carbs after your workout. Maybe add somewhere in your day, not after your workout, somewhere else in your day, maybe 10 to 15 grams of fat. And so that's going to add a couple hundred calories. Put that around your training, because that's going to allow those extra calories to go to best use. The carbohydrates, not the fats. Fats aren't as optimal after you're working out, so you want to keep that either with breakfast or maybe with dinner, not as a pre or post workout. So set a maintenance level. On your training days, bump up your post-workout carbs by like 20 to 30 grams. Bump up your fats by about 10 to 15. Do that for a while. If you're not gaining fat and you've done that for like 8 weeks, I would suggest adding a little more. Add another 10 grams of carbs. Add another 5 to 10 grams of fat. You can kind of play with that. I did have a client I'm working with who is prepping for a show, and she was very diligent with this, and she was able to keep bumping up little by little. We just kept it really slow, and we just monitored her body change, and she was able to see measurements going up but not weight, which typically is an indicator that you're building muscle, because muscle it does weigh more than fat, but you're not going to notice that on the scale. I'm talking a year before you really notice much of that on the scale. So slowly, little by little, just by watching and making sure she wasn't starting to balloon up, and by looking at her physically, we were able to get her up to, I think she ended up adding like 100 grams of carbs a day. I'm not kidding. She has great metabolism, and she works super hard. So she was able to do that without gaining very much body fat at all. When we got to the point where she was like, I don't know, I'm starting to feel really kind of fluffy and soft, and the scale started to move in a way we didn't like it, we just backed it off and stayed right where she was. So what I would recommend, Erica, is trying to be very diligent, making sure you're eating enough, but not overdoing it on the extra calories, and just really slowly tracking it that way. Keep your protein consistent, add little increases of carbohydrate around your workout, and a little bit of fat somewhere else in your day. So I hope Erica, I looked at the screen and saw Melissa. Erica, I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, if you would like some more help with that, feel free to email me, melanie.ash@ashfitness.com. So thank you. Okay, Josh, that answered your question. Awesome. I'm so glad. I want to thank you guys again. If there are no more questions, I'll wrap up. I'll just give you a second if anyone else has any other questions. We've gone the full hour. So I do thank you so much. Oh, good, Erica, that helped. Awesome. I'm so glad. Thank you guys. Really great questions today. I so much appreciate it. And again, I will be sending out an email here shortly to you with the replay of this if you want to go back and watch any of it, with that link so you can check out Making It Stick. Take a look and see if this is something that you think would take you to where you want to be here in 2017. And thank you, Melissa. Thank you for everything. And take care. Have a great day. Happy New Year. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.